High Commander Zixvar walked slowly into the large chamber. His four legs made soft clicking sounds on the polished floor. The central speaking platform awaited him. Around it, seated in rising circles, were the young officer cadets of the Galactic Coalition. Their faces showed curiosity and respect. Some showed doubt. Zixvar's body was covered in old battle scars. His exoskeletal plates had been repaired many times. One of his four eyes was artificial, glowing slightly blue against his greenish skin. He had fought in wars across 3 galaxies over his long life. But only one species still haunted his dreams. The aging commander settled his bulk onto the speaking platform. The lights dimmed slightly. The 100 or so cadets quieted down. They represented 12 different species from across the coalition. Some had fur. Others had scales. A few were energy beings contained in special suits. None were human. "I have been asked to share battle wisdom," Zixvar began. His translator conveyed his clicks and whistles into standard coalition language. "The Coalition Defense Academy believes my experience will benefit you. I have fought the Void Krell. I have battled the Quantum Swarm. But today I will tell you about the most frightening species I have ever faced." A ripple of excitement moved through the young cadets. "Humans," Zixvar said simply. A cadet with purple fur snorted loudly. "Humans. They're soft. No natural armor. No claws. They can barely survive in space without help." Zixvar fixed his gaze on the cadet. "That is what we all thought. That is why we nearly lost the Hive War." Silence fell over the room. The Hive War had nearly destroyed the Coalition 50 cycles ago. Many of these cadets' parents had fought in it. "Humans joined our Coalition 50 cycles ago," Zixvar continued. "They were new to space travel. Their technology was behind ours by at least 200 cycles. We accepted them because we needed all possible allies against the Hive. We thought they would provide resources, perhaps some support troops." Zixvar's upper limbs twitched, a sign of strong emotion among his kind. "We did not expect them to change the way we understand warfare itself." A female cadet with gray skin and large eyes raised a limb. "Commander, our history courses mention humans, but mostly their diplomatic contributions. Were they truly significant militarily?" Zixvar made a harsh sound that his translator did not convert. When the war ended, the Coalition Military Council created a special classification for human combat tactics. It is the only species-specific tactical category in our database. He touched a control, and a hologram appeared above the platform. It showed a solar system with Earth at its center. "This is the human home system. A single star. A single inhabited planet. When the Hive attacked Earth, our analysts predicted it would fall within 7 days. Zixvar paused. The siege of Earth lasted for 2 human years. The Hive lost over 30% of their attack force before retreating. Murmurs of disbelief spread through the chamber. "I was there," Zixvar said quietly. "I saw what they did, what they were willing to do." A reptilian cadet leaned forward. "What makes humans so different, Commander? Every species fights to survive." "That is precisely what makes humans different," Zixvar replied. "They do not just fight to survive. They fight for ideas, for principles, for others. Sometimes, they fight when all logical analysis says they should surrender." Zixvar's artificial eye glowed more brightly as his emotion circuits engaged. "In this course, I will share what I witnessed in human warfare. Not because I wish you to fear humans. They are our allies and have been loyal to the Coalition. I tell you these things because the day may come when you face an enemy who thinks differently than you do. On that day, understanding how humans approach battle may save your lives." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the doubters were listening intently. "Let me begin with my first encounter with human soldiers, at the Battle of Proxima Centauri. It was there I learned that humans have a concept that most species lack. They call it sacrifice." The Battle of Proxima Centauri was not supposed to involve humans at all. Zixvar explained this as the cadets listened carefully. The Hive had attacked a Coalition mining colony, and 3 coalition battle groups responded. HFY commanded the third group. We were losing, HFY said simply. The hive brought twice the ships we expected. Our forces were being destroyed one by one. He touched a control, and a battlefield display appeared above the platform. Red dots represented hive ships. Blue represented coalition forces. The blue dots were few and getting fewer. We sent distress calls to all nearby coalition forces. We expected the Juxer fleet from the next system. Instead, we detected these. HFY pointed as green dots appeared at the edge of the display. Human ships. 15 of them. Small vessels by our standards. We did not even know humans had a base in this sector. The display showed the green dots moving toward the battle. They did not form a defensive line as coalition doctrine required. Instead, they split into 3 groups and attacked from different directions. Their ships were less advanced than ours. Their weapons were weaker, but they used them in ways we had not considered. The commander's voice grew softer. They targeted engine sections and weapon nodes with surgical precision. They moved in patterns that made no sense until we saw how they confused hive targeting systems. The display showed the battle unfolding. Green dots blinked out one by one as human ships were destroyed, but many red hive dots disappeared too. Then came the moment that changed my understanding of warfare, HFY said. 3 human ships had been badly damaged. Their weapons were depleted. By all logic, they should have retreated. The cadets watched as the 3 green dots suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest red dots. They rammed the hive motherships, a cadet said in disbelief. Yes, HFY replied. At faster-than-light speeds, the kinetic impact destroyed not only their own vessels, but the 3 largest hive ships. The explosion damaged 7 more hive vessels. The battle turned in that moment. Silence filled the chamber. To most coalition species, such an action was unthinkable. After the battle, I met the human commander, Captain Alan Wright of the Earth Defense Force. I asked him why those ships did not retreat when their weapons failed. HFY's upper limbs twitched with the memory. He told me they were volunteer crews specifically trained for last resort tactics. A cadet raised a limb. They planned to die before the battle began. Not exactly, HFY answered. Wright explained they hoped to win without such measures. But if necessary, they would sacrifice themselves to protect others. He called it going down fighting. Another cadet spoke up. But that defies evolutionary logic. All species have survival instincts. Humans have them too, HFY said. But they can choose to override those instincts. Wright showed me images of the crew members who died. They had families, children. They knew what they would lose. They chose it anyway. The commander brought up a new image, a simple metal disc on a chain. This is called a dog tag. Human soldiers wear them so their bodies can be identified after death. When I asked Captain Wright why humans would accept such high casualties, he gave me one from a fallen soldier. He said, "So you'll remember we fight differently." HFY held up an actual dog tag. The cadets could see strange human symbols etched on its surface. I asked Wright why the humans didn't simply retreat when outmatched. He explained that humans call this desertion and consider it deeply dishonorable. Many human militaries historically executed deserters. HFY let that sink in. They would rather die than flee. A cadet with feathered skin shook her head. That seems irrational. By our standards, yes, HFY agreed. And that is precisely why humans are so dangerous in war. They do not follow the rational calculations other species use. After Proxima Centauri, the hive made a grave mistake. They decided to retaliate directly against the human homeworld, Earth. They thought it would be an easy victory against a primitive planet. HFY's artificial eye glowed brighter. Instead, it led to the longest siege in the war, and my second encounter with human warfare. HFY showed the cadets a new image. It was a blue and green planet, Earth. The human homeworld looked peaceful from space. After the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the Hive Queen was angry. Human tactics had cost her 3 motherships. She ordered an immediate attack on Earth. Zixvar's voice grew lower. The Coalition Council voted to send minimal support. Most believed Earth would fall within days, and they did not want to waste resources. The display changed to show Earth surrounded by hundreds of red dots, Hive ships. I was sent as a Coalition observer, not to fight. My ship arrived as the Hive began their attack. Zixvar's 4 eyes seemed to look into the past. The humans had only 50 defense vessels. The Hive had over 600. The math was simple. 1 cadet raised a limb. So Earth was defeated quickly. No, Zixvar said. The siege of Earth lasted for 2 standard years, the longest planetary defense in Coalition history. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. How is that possible? Asked a tall, thin cadet. Their technology was inferior. Because humans do not fight like we do, Zixvar replied. When the Hive destroyed their orbital defenses, we expected surrender. Instead, every human on the planet joined the war effort. They converted factories to make weapons overnight. They turned civilian aircraft into bombers. Children carried messages. Elderly humans mixed chemicals for explosives. The display showed images of human cities. Some were damaged from Hive attacks. But in all of them, humans were working, building, preparing. The Hive sent drop ships with ground troops, expecting to take control quickly. The humans were waiting. They knew their own planet better than any invader could. They used the weather, the terrain, even their own buildings as weapons. Zixvar touched his control pad, and the image changed to show a human female with dark hair and determined eyes. This is Lieutenant Claire Donovan. Before the war, she taught young humans about literature. When I met her, she commanded a resistance group that had destroyed 7 Hive dropships. The cadets stared at the ordinary-looking human. I asked her how a teacher learned to fight so effectively. She showed me things called history books and war movies. She explained that humans study past wars constantly. They teach their children about battles fought thousands of years ago. They create entertainment about war. They rehearse for conflict even in times of peace. A reptilian cadet flicked his tongue in confusion. They practice war as entertainment. Yes, Zixvar said. Humans are the only known species that does this. It gives them unprecedented adaptability in actual combat. While the Hive used the same tactics on Earth they had used on 100 other worlds, the humans studied these patterns and created countermeasures. He showed a new image, a simple device made of metal tubes and explosive material. This weapon was created by children and elderly humans in what they called resistance workshops. It could disable a Hive transport vehicle with 1 hit. They made thousands of them from scrap metal and common chemicals. Zixvar paused, his breathing heavy with memory. The Hive attempted to cut off human food supplies, thinking starvation would force surrender. The humans planted gardens on rooftops and in underground tunnels. They became thinner, but they did not starve. His artificial eye glowed brightly. The Hive tried to destroy human communication networks. The humans created new ones using old technology the Hive couldn't detect. They called it going analog. They used paper messages and simple radio signals that confused Hive monitoring systems. A cadet with fins and blue skin spoke up. But they must have had help from the Coalition, yes. Very little, Zixvar admitted. We sent medical supplies twice, some weapons once. The humans were essentially alone. He looked across the room at the young faces. After 1 Earth year, the Hive had lost nearly 200 ships and thousands of ground troops. The Hive Queen ordered a new approach: psychological warfare. She believed if human minds could be broken, their resistance would collapse. Zixvar's voice became a near whisper. That was perhaps her greatest mistake of all. Zixvar looked at the cadets with all 4 of his eyes. His upper limbs twitched slightly as he prepared to continue his story. The Hive Queen believed all species shared certain basic fears: fear of death, Fear of pain. Fear of the unknown. Her forces had used these fears against many worlds before. HFY clicked his mandibles together, but humans responded to fear differently. The commander brought up a new image on the display. It showed human soldiers wearing headsets while in battle positions. Coalition intelligence intercepted human communication frequencies during battles. We expected to hear strategic information, battle plans, or at least status reports. HFY paused. Instead, we heard something called battle music, rhythmic sound patterns with aggressive lyrics that humans played while fighting. He touched a control, and sound filled the chamber. Loud, pounding music with human voices shouting words the translator struggled to convert properly. Many cadets covered their hearing organs. This music made humans more aggressive, not less. It drowned out the sounds of battle that might cause fear in other species. The hive tried broadcasting fear-inducing sounds, but humans simply played their music louder. A cadet with large ears that now lay flat against their head spoke up. "That noise is terrible. How could it help them fight?" Humans use it to create something they call battle rhythm. It synchronizes their movements and thinking. Some human cultures have used music in warfare for thousands of years. HFY brought up a new image, a human male with short brown hair and a serious face. This is Major Greg Sampson. During the Earth siege, he led a squad of only 12 humans that captured a hive communications hub. The hub was guarded by over 100 hive soldiers. The cadets leaned forward, interested despite themselves. I interviewed Sampson after the operation. His team created multiple diversions that made the hive believe they were facing a much larger force. They used recorded sounds, heat signatures, and scattered movements to confuse hive sensors. A hologram appeared showing the layout of the hive hub and the movement patterns of Sampson's squad. When I asked Sampson how he created this strategy, he showed me an ancient human text called The Art of War, written by a human named Sun Tzu thousands of years earlier. Humans had been studying warfare since before they built their first cities. HFY's artificial eye flickered as he recalled the memory. Sampson told me, "All warfare is based on deception. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When we are few, we must make them believe we are many." The commander looked at the cadets. Most species only developed military science when they reached space and encountered others. Humans had been perfecting it for their entire history. He touched his control pad again, bringing up images of various human battle tactics. What makes humans impossible to predict is that they often take actions that appear completely irrational. They retreat when they should advance. They stand ground when they should retreat. They sometimes put themselves in danger deliberately to achieve objectives. A cadet with crystalline skin raised a limb. But surely all species value self-preservation. It's basic evolution. Humans value what they call the mission above their own lives, HFY replied. During the Earth siege, I witnessed a human squad deliberately draw hive fire upon themselves so another squad could flank the enemy position. They called this taking one for the team. HFY clicked his mandibles again, a sign of deep thought. The hive expected human resistance to crumble when their casualties mounted. Instead, human determination grew stronger. They have a saying, "The more you tighten your grip, the more will slip through your fingers." He looked at the cadets with all four eyes. After 6 months of psychological warfare, the hive had made no progress, so they attempted a new approach. They deployed neural suppression fields against human forces. This technology had effectively neutralized other species by triggering overwhelming fear responses. His voice grew quieter. But what happened next shocked even the hive queen herself. HFY dimmed the chamber lights further. The cadets sat in near darkness now, their different eyes adjusting in various ways. The commander wanted them to feel a fraction of the unease he had felt during the events he was about to describe. Neural suppression technology had been the hive's most effective weapon against morale. HFY explained. It works by stimulating fear centers in the brain. Most species become unable to fight when exposed. Some even harmed themselves trying to escape the fear. The display showed a small device with pulsing red light. The hive deployed these devices across human-controlled areas of Earth. They expected immediate results. Zix-Var's voice grew softer. The results were immediate, but not what the hive expected. A cadet with scaled skin spoke up. The humans were immune. No, Zix-Var replied. They felt the fear, but many humans could still function while afraid. And some, the commander paused. Some became more dangerous. He brought up footage from a battle. Humans faced hive soldiers in a ruined city street. As the neural suppressors activated, many humans dropped to the ground or ran. But others charged forward, screaming, fighting with even more violence than before. During this battle at a place called Denver, I witnessed Colonel Olivia Martinez's battalion get hit with neural suppressors. I expected them to retreat. Instead, about 40% of her forces charged directly into hive positions. The footage showed humans fighting with shocking ferocity, some using only basic weapons or their bare hands after losing their guns. Later, when I questioned Colonel Martinez about this behavior, she explained the human concept of fight or flight. When humans feel fear, it can trigger two different responses: running away or becoming more aggressive. The neural suppressors triggered the fight response in many of her soldiers. Zix-Var's artificial eye glowed brightly in the dim chamber. She introduced terms like adrenaline and battlefield rage that had no equivalent in other species' biologies. Human bodies produce chemicals during fear that can sometimes make them stronger, faster, and insensitive to pain. A cadet with feathered skin raised a limb. So the weapon backfired completely. Not completely, Zix-Var said. About 60% of humans still responded with standard fear reactions. But that was not enough for the hive's strategy to work. A predictable enemy is a defeatable enemy. An enemy where half their forces become more dangerous when frightened is problematic. He showed new footage. A small group of humans in a defensive position surrounded by hive forces. The neural suppressors activated, visible as pulsing lights. Several humans fled. Others fought harder. This unpredictability made it impossible for the hive to use standardized tactics against humans. They could never be certain how a human unit would respond to neural suppression. Zix-Var touched his control pad, showing charts and data. The hive studied this phenomenon and discovered something else unusual. Human fear responses changed with repeated exposure. Some humans who ran the first time would fight the next time. Their brains adapted to the stimulus. The commander leaned forward. Eventually, the hive abandoned neural technology against humans because it created too many berserker-like responses. In some cases, it transformed ordinary human soldiers into what they called one-person armies who accomplished seemingly impossible feats while under the influence of fear-induced rage. He showed an image of a human female with red hair and a stern expression. This is Captain Kelly Richards. During a neural suppressor attack, she lost all her squad members. Alone, surrounded by hive soldiers, and under neural influence, she destroyed an entire hive platoon and captured their equipment. When asked how she did this, she simply said she was too angry to die. Zix-Var looked at the silent cadets. The hive queen was frustrated. Psychological warfare had failed. Neural technology had failed. So she attempted a new approach. She targeted human supply lines and communication infrastructure, hoping to isolate and starve human resistance groups. His mandibles clicked together ominously. That was when the humans showed us yet another surprising aspect of their approach to warfare: their capacity for innovation. Zix-Var adjusted his position on the speaking platform. His old battle wounds always ached when he spoke of the war for too long. The cadets remained attentive, many now leaning forward with genuine interest. Most species develop technology methodically, Zix-Var began. They follow established scientific principles. They test prototypes for years before deployment. They seek perfection before implementation. He paused. Humans do not. The display showed various pieces of human technology, cobbled together from different parts. They looked strange, even crude to alien eyes. When the hive cut off human supply lines, they expected the humans to run out of weapons, food, and medical supplies within weeks. Instead, humans began creating new weapons from salvaged materials. They found ways to grow food in unlikely places. They made medicine from plants and common chemicals. Zixvar brought up an image of a human male with glasses and wild gray hair. This is Dr. William Harrison. Before the war, he studied theoretical physics at a human learning center called MIT. During the Siege of Earth, I watched him modify standard coalition shield technology to create what he called reflective barriers that turned the hive's energy weapons against them. A video played showing a hive ship firing at a human position. The energy beam hit an invisible barrier and bounced back, destroying the hive vessel. When I asked Dr. Harrison how he conceived this breakthrough so quickly, he told me he got the idea from a video game his son played. Zixvar's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Humans use games to explore theoretical concepts that other species would only consider in serious research. A cadet with bioluminescent skin raised a limb. But that defies proper scientific method. How could they know these improvised technologies would work? They didn't. Zixvar replied simply. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When desperate, they try solutions that established science considers impossible. Sometimes they fail. Sometimes they create breakthroughs that change warfare forever. He showed images of human factories rapidly retooled to produce new weapons and equipment. While most species might take years to develop new military technology, humans under pressure created new weapons and countermeasures in weeks or even days. They called this wartime innovation. The commander brought up schematics for various human devices. Humans created weapons from everyday items. They turned farming equipment into traps. They modified civilian vehicles for combat. When the hive deployed jamming technology to block human communications, humans reverted to old technology like Morse code and shortwave radio that the hive had no countermeasures for. Zixvar touched his control pad, showing a simple device made of common materials. This is called an EMP grenade. It was designed by a human teenager named Danny Fisher who had never studied advanced physics. It could disable hive technology within 20 meters. The Coalition Science Division later determined it should not have worked according to known scientific principles, yet it did. The cadets exchanged glances of disbelief. Human innovation stems partly from their chaotic thinking patterns, Zixvar continued. Where other species follow logical paths, humans make intuitive leaps. They try combinations and approaches that seem random but occasionally produce remarkable results. He showed footage of humans rapidly adapting to new hive tactics, changing their own strategies, sometimes mid-battle. The hive expected to win through superior technology and numbers, but humans kept changing the rules of engagement. They refused to fight in ways the hive could predict. When the hive developed countermeasures to human tactics, humans would simply create new tactics. Zixvar's voice grew serious. After one Earth year, the hive queen realized standard approaches would not defeat humans. Her forces had suffered unprecedented losses against what should have been an easy target. So she ordered one final, massive assault on all human strongholds simultaneously, committing her remaining forces to end the conflict. The commander's artificial eye glowed bright red. That was when Coalition Command finally recognized the strategic value of human warfare. They sent me to meet with a human leader named Admiral Patricia Sullivan, who had proposed something called Operation Thunderstrike, a plan so audacious that most coalition strategists considered it suicide. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the most skeptical cadets were fully engaged in Zixvar's story. The old commander's artificial eye pulsed with the memory of events that had changed the course of the war. After a year of fighting humans, the Hive Queen was desperate. Zixvar continued. She gathered her remaining forces for one final assault on Earth. The Coalition Council finally agreed to provide more substantial support, but it would take weeks for those forces to arrive. He showed a new image, a human female with silver hair tied back tightly, wearing a dark uniform with many small symbols on it. This is Admiral Patricia Sullivan. She commanded the human space forces during the final year of the war. When she learned of the Hive's plans, she came to the Coalition with her own strategy. The display showed a star map with 27 planets highlighted in red. Sullivan proposed something called Operation Thunderstrike. It involved simultaneous attacks on 27 Hive breeding worlds. HFY paused. The Coalition Council immediately rejected the plan as impossible. We simply did not have enough ships to attack that many targets at once. A cadet spoke up. So the plan was abandoned. No, HFY replied. Sullivan explained she did not need large fleets. She introduced the concept of asymmetric warfare, arguing that conventional military doctrine was ineffective against the numerically superior Hive. Her plan involved small, elite strike teams targeting critical infrastructure rather than engaging in direct combat. The display showed small groups of human soldiers training for specific missions. The Coalition reluctantly approved the operation, providing minimal resources. I was assigned as the Coalition observer. HFY's mandibles clicked rapidly. What I witnessed in the next 30 days changed my understanding of warfare forever. He showed footage of human special forces teams in action on various Hive worlds. Humans have specialized warriors they call special forces. These are not simply soldiers with better equipment. They are trained to operate independently, adapt to any situation, and accomplish objectives with minimal support. The cadets watched as small human teams infiltrated Hive facilities, moving in ways that seemed impossible to detect. The human teams did not try to defeat Hive forces in direct battle. That would have been suicide. Instead, they used what humans call guerrilla tactics. They struck critical targets and disappeared. They set traps and ambushes. They turned the Hive's own security systems against them. HFY showed a particular piece of footage that made several cadets gasp. A human team allowed themselves to be captured by Hive soldiers. This is Captain Jason Blackwell's team. They deliberately allowed themselves to be captured, knowing they would be taken to the central Hive nexus for interrogation. We thought they had failed. The footage continued, showing the humans being taken deep into a Hive facility. What we did not know was that each member of Blackwell's team had microscopic explosives surgically embedded within their own bodies. Once inside the Nexus Control Center, they detonated these devices, destroying the facility's central neural node and themselves along with it. HFY's voice grew quiet. When I asked Sullivan why these humans would agree to such a mission, knowing they could not survive, she told me. They volunteered because success meant saving billions of lives, including their families back on Earth. The display showed the results of Operation Thunderstrike. 23 of the 27 targets successfully destroyed or disabled. The Hive's coordinated assault on Earth collapsed as their command structure fell into chaos. Within 60 days of Operation Thunderstrike, the Hive Queens sued for peace. Their breeding capabilities had been crippled. Their command structure was in disarray. Their remaining forces were scattered and uncoordinated. HFY looked across the chamber at the silent cadets. The Coalition military analysts had predicted the war would last another 5 years. Human asymmetric warfare ended it in 2 months. We had been fighting the wrong war all along, trying to match the Hive's numbers. The humans showed us that precision could overcome overwhelming force. The commander's artificial eye dimmed slightly. After the war ended, the Coalition was forced to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about warfare. And I was left with one final, troubling realization about our human allies. HFY slowly rose from his seated position, his forelegs straightened with visible effort. The cadets could see that the old commander was tired, but his eyes, both natural and artificial, remained sharp and focused. It has been 30 cycles since the end of the Hive War, HFY said. Humans are now respected members of the coalition. They serve on our ships. They trade with our worlds. They share their art, their music, and yes, even their military knowledge with us. The display showed images of humans working alongside various alien species on coalition ships and stations. But there is something I have not yet told you, something that troubles me more than any other aspect of human warfare. Zixvar's voice grew softer, causing the cadets to lean forward. During the war, I witnessed human forces following strict rules of engagement and something they called Geneva Conventions that limited their actions, even when such limitations put them at a tactical disadvantage. The display showed footage of human soldiers providing medical treatment to wounded Hive soldiers and other humans preventing the mistreatment of Hive prisoners. Humans have developed moral codes for warfare, Zixvar continued. They refuse to use certain weapons they consider too cruel. They treat prisoners with care. They avoid civilian casualties when possible. They hold their own soldiers accountable for violations of these codes. A cadet with crystalline skin raised a limb. But this seems positive, Commander. Why does it trouble you? Because, Zixvar replied slowly, it means that everything I have described to you about human warfare, their sacrifice, their adaptability, their innovation, their ferocity, all of this is humans fighting with self-imposed restraint. The chamber fell completely silent. They restrain themselves, Zixvar continued, not because they must, but because they choose to. I have studied human history. I have seen what happens when that restraint is removed. He brought up historical images from human conflicts that made several cadets look away. Humans are capable of terrible cruelty when they believe their cause is just or when they feel threatened. Yet they recognized this in themselves and created rules to prevent it. This capacity for both extreme violence and extreme restraint is unique among species we have encountered. Zixvar touched his control pad one final time. A classified coalition document appeared on the display. After the war, the Coalition Intelligence Division created a special protocol should human coalition relations ever deteriorate. He highlighted 3 lines of text: do not engage, do not threaten, negotiate at all costs. The commander looked at each cadet in turn. You are the next generation of coalition officers. You may one day command ships, stations, or ground forces. Remember what I have told you today. Humans are not like us. They do not think like us. They do not fight like us. Zixvar's artificial eye glowed brightly. Pray to whatever deities you acknowledge that humans remain our friends, for we have glimpsed but a fraction of what they become when truly at war. The lights in the chamber slowly returned to normal brightness. The cadets blinked and shifted, the spell of the commander's story broken. Many looked thoughtful. Some looked worried. This concludes today's tactical history lesson, Zixvar said. You are dismissed. As the cadets began to file out, still discussing what they had heard, Zixvar noticed a figure at the back of the chamber who had not moved. A human male in a coalition uniform approached the speaking platform. Commander Zixvar, the human said with a slight smile. That was quite a dramatic presentation. Commander Ethan Powell, Zixvar replied. I did not know there were humans stationed at this academy. Just arrived yesterday, Powell said. I'll be teaching advanced tactics next cycle. He gestured to where the cadets had been sitting. An interesting perspective you've given them on my species. Is it inaccurate? Zixvar asked. Powell considered this for a moment. No, just incomplete. How so? The truly terrifying thing about humans, Powell said quietly, isn't that we're good at warfare. It's that we're trying to outgrow it, even while remaining its undisputed masters. As Powell walked away, Zixvar found himself hoping that the human was right. A species that mastered peace as thoroughly as humans had mastered war would be a powerful ally indeed.